The meeting will come to order. This evening, President Congo will be presiding virtually. President Congo, are you ready to take the floor? While we wait for President Congo to join us, we will have the opening prayer by Akira Granardo. Nope, there he is.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
We can't hear the president, so at this time we will, Mr. President?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
All right, thank you so much for opening up this meeting. I'd like to invite everyone and thank everyone for coming to this evening's meeting for City Council, those who have joined us in chambers and those who are virtual. At this time, we will, just as a reminder for public comment, there is a Google Form sign-up link in the chat for anyone who would like to speak for public comment. And as always, that would take place after non-legislative business. At this time, we will all recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
Present.
Councilwoman Darby,
Present.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Present.
Councilwoman Harley, Councilwoman Fields,
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Here.
Councilman Johnson,
Here.
Councilman Field,
Present.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Present.
Councilman Mills,
Present.
Councilman Spadola,
Present.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Present.
and President Congo.
Here,
12
and just for the
present,
record, count.
12 present and 1 absent.
Thank you. And for the record, Council Member Harley did ask to be excused. This time we have the reading of the minutes from the previous meeting.
April 6, 2023, City Council met in regular session with remote participation, the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Pro Tem Maria D. Cabrera presiding. The opening prayer was done by Kara Granardo, Deputy City Clerk. The Pledge of Allegiance was recited by City Council.
Mr. President, I move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved that the minutes be accepted as written. On the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll have our city treasurer's report.
We have one committee report, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. March 6, 2023, President, members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Finance and Economic Development Committee, met by anchor location and remote participation to was referred ordinance number 23007 entitled Ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to prohibit City Council from hiring close relatives of currently sitting City Council members. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend Council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted those members present: Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Harley, Councilwoman Bracy, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilman Spadola, and President Congo.
At this time, I move for the committee report to be received, recorded, and filed as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. This time we'll have our city treasurer's report.
April 20th, 2023. Total investment, $489,157,866.99. Total cash on hand, $13,362,715.58. Grand total, $502,520,582.57. Submitted by Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved that the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to accept all non-legislative business. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Do we have any council members who have any resolutions of recognition?
I have one, Mr. President.
Okay, Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, at this time, I would like to invite Mary Cella to come up to the front. We as a council wanted to recognize Arab American Heritage Month, and we are thankful that Miss Mary, right where the microphone is, Miss Mary Cella came from her organization to accept this resolution. We don't have an organized group here in Wilmington, but on behalf of the work that she does, people to people, yes, with people to people who have an international reach, we appreciate her being here today. Whereas it is the sense of City Council to acknowledge special events and individuals that merit recognition. National Arab American Heritage Month is one such occasion. And whereas throughout April, we formally recognize the achievements of Arab Americans in this nation. In 2017, Arab America and the Arab American Foundation launched the National Arab American Heritage Month initiative, with just a handful of states participating. In 2022, commemorating the U.S. Congress, the Department of State, and 45 state governors issued proclamations commemorating the initiative. In 2023, President Joseph R. Biden issued a historic proclamation recognizing the month of April as National Arab American Heritage Month. And whereas, for over a century, Arab Americans have been making valuable contributions to virtually every aspect of American society, in medicine, law, business, education, technology, government, military service, and culture. Since migrating to America, men and women of Arab descent have shared their rich culture and traditions with neighbors and friends, while also setting fine examples of model citizens and public servants. Whereas they brought with them to America the resilient family values, strong work ethic, dedication to education and diversity in faith and creed that have added strength to our great democracy. Arab Americans have also enriched our society by sharing in the entrepreneurial American spirit that makes our nation free and prosperous. The incredible contributions and heritage of Arab Americans have helped us build a better nation. And whereas People to People Delaware serves as a platform to engage and appreciate the diverse heritage of ethnic and cultural communities within our state. Through their various culture exchange programs, they have welcomed scholars from the Arab world and provided opportunities for Delawareans of all backgrounds to develop a deeper appreciation for the uniqueness of Arab American culture traditions, while also acknowledging our common humanity. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that this council is pleased to recognize People to People Delaware for their efforts to build a more inclusive, well-represented Delaware. Job well done.
Thank you, and I'm very pleased to be here representing People to People Delaware. My name is Mary Cella, and I am a board member with People to People. For those of you who don't know what People to People is, it was founded by President Eisenhower in the 50s, and he felt that war was not the answer. It was peace. So the mission of People to People is peace through understanding. And we do many, many, many things. We have educational programs about different countries, Saudi Arabia, India, Cuba. We've had dozens and dozens of those types of cultural presentations. We also do some fun things. We go to the Boys and Girls Club, and we have the kids do murals on peace. The reason I was chosen is I am of Lebanese descent. My mother's parents were from Zotli and Tambourine, Lebanon. And I actually had the pleasure of going to Lebanon just before the pandemic. And I stayed with my mother's cousins, and it's an experience I'll never forget. I was welcomed, even though there was a language barrier. It was just, I just can't put it in words what an experience it is. And that is experience that we should all do in our daily lives. I mean, that's what peace through understanding is. And that's what People to People of Delaware is. And thank you very much for recognizing People to People.
And thank you. Are there any council members who would like to give any remarks? And if not, we will move to our next recognition resolution. I believe Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. President, she was showing us something. Does
Yes.
anybody have remarks? Mary, here's your resolution.
Okay. Yes, I actually do have a recognition.
Okay, please come forward.
Thank you. And if the Salesianum Schools team captains, I guess basketball, track, swimming, diving, wrestling, and ice hockey, if they can join me at the podium. Yeah, y'all can't even think.
Some of you can gather on this
No,
side.
not in trouble. This is gonna, you can just line up, yep, just along the wall. Thank you so much for all coming out. I just thought I was gonna see the captains here. I know.
They look like winners too, okay?
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, all right. All right. So I just, oops. Before I begin, I just wanted to say congratulations again. I've been kind of keeping an eye on things on the Facebook page. I am a mother to a Salesian scholar, and I just wanted to make certain that I kept an eye on everything that was going on. And as we were seeing the championships happen, it was like, whoa, got to keep an eye on this. Looks like it's going to be all of them. So I just want to get started. So I am Councilwoman Yolanda McCoy. And whereas it is the sense of City Council to honor individuals and organizations who have demonstrated outstanding achievements and are deserving of recognition and acknowledgement. Salesianum School, the first school in the state to sweep all boys winter sports, is one such organization. And whereas Salesianum School has earned the championship title in not one, but 5 winter sports. The basketball, indoor track, swimming, and diving, wrestling teams claimed Delaware Interscholastic Association DIAA titles, and while the ice hockey team earned the Philadelphia Catholic League title. And whereas the basketball team earned their first DIAA title since 2015 under the leadership of Coach Taylor Trevisan, I hope I said that right, and captains Brandon Buffone and Adrian Montgomery. In a close final game, the team claimed a 48-44 victory against William Penn High School. Sorry, William Penn. We won. They concluded their season with 13 wins and 7 losses. And whereas Salesianum's indoor track team defended their DIAA title for the 4th year in a row, they dominated both running and field events against 31 teams, finishing with a 40-point lead over the second-place team. We commend head coach Tim Byrne, captains Matthew Klaus, Joshua Harris, Vinny Delacampagni, thank you, and the entire team for their dedication to excellence. And whereas the wrestling team won the first wrestling title for the school since 1984, and the guidance of Coach Cameron Davis and team captains Max Agresti, Sam Munch, and Cameron Davis Jr., they became the only 4th seeded team in the state history to win the tournament. With a season record of 8 wins and 3 losses, they also returned to the Division I championship to a north of the Canal team for the first time since 2010. And whereas 17 out of 19 Salesianum swimmers qualified for their first final heat, the steadfast encouragement of the head coach Chip Hannick, who's in his 23rd year with the team and his 2021 state titles. Wow. During that time, senior Jack Camfield, Dominic Grassi, Colin Lewis, Ryan Mahoney, Michael Maderick, Sam McCoig, and Jackson Price, Jason Schechner, Griffin Scully, Kyle Skelly, and Theodore Sakunis have had the chance to win a state championship during each of the 4 years at Salesianum. And whereas even though Delaware does not have a DIAA ice hockey conference, the team completed a strong season in the Philadelphia Catholic League. The championship game was played against Father Judge High School in Pennsylvania and was won in overtime under the guidance of Coach Brian LeBlanc and team captains Christian Kinsler, Iman Schofield, Jack Farrell, and Chris Albert. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Wilmington that this council is pleased to recognize the Salesiana basketball, indoor track, swimming and diving, wrestling, and ice hockey teams for their athletic achievements and for bringing such excellence and recognition to the City of Wilmington. Job well done. So, I know that only a few people have probably been recognized because some of these championships are in elsewhere. But we wanted to make certain that because Salesianum is a Wilmington school, that everything y'all won, we want to make certain that y'all got something for it. So I have a resolution for each team captain for the basketball team. This one, okay. All right. And I said, and I'm make certain that everyone gets a chance to say something if they like. The wrestling team. Okay, there you go. The ice hockey team. Okay. The swimming and diving team. There you go. And indoor track team. Okay. You're welcome. And I just had one thing I had to say before I got down and let you guys speak. That the motto or the quote that I always hear when I'm there is be who you are and be that well. The first time I heard it, it struck me. I'm like, I wanted to get emblazoned somewhere. I was ready to get a tattoo or get it inscribed on my desk or something. But it really felt good to have that type of quality education right here and making certain that our young men grew up to exactly what they wanted to be. Figure out who you're going to be and do it the best that you can. So I'm just so glad that you guys are here. Congratulations, and y'all get a chance to talk.
Hello, I'm Katie Godfrey, the athletic director with Salesianum School, and I would just say that it is such an honor to be here. So thank you so much for honoring us with that. Our history with the city goes way back many years. And when they had the chance that they knew that they needed to grow the school, and instead of going outside of the city limits, I think it was very important to the oblates that they stay inside of Wilmington. So the history of the city is very important to our school as well. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Josh Harris, and I'm a senior captain on the indoor track team. This year, we were able to go 5 for 5 in the winter championships, and this couldn't have been done without the strength of our brotherhood and the immense effort through our athletes. We're honored here today to represent our school and the city of Wilmington, and we could not thank you enough for this recognition.
Good evening. I'm Chip Hannick, and I'm the coach of the swim team at Salesianum School. And on behalf of myself and my fellow coaches up here, Coach Davis with wrestling, Coach Byrne winter track, Coach Carey with basketball, and Coach LeBlanc with ice hockey, we appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule to recognize us for our accomplishments this past winter. And in our travels up and down the state, and we even have competitions out of state also, we're always proud to say we represent the city of Wilmington, and we're proud to say we are from Wilmington. Thank you.
I'd like to
Congratulations again, Joe.
Are there any council members who would like to give any remarks?
Yes.
Councilmember Oliver?
Thank you, Madam, thank you, Mr. President. I'd just like to congratulate them, all Salesianum team from the city of Wilmington. A win is a win. They won it and they deserve it, and congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other
Yes.
council members who would like to give any remarks?
Yes,
Councilmember Johnson?
Council President. I would just like to thank the Sally's, thank Councilmember McCoy, and I would like to say, great work done. Me being a winter sport athlete myself, including indoor track, these sports often get overlooked. So I think we should be proud of what they've built and the fact that they attract kids from other states to attend and participate in their sports in school.
Thank you, Councilman Johnson. Are there any other council members who would like to give remarks?
Councilmember Darby has her hand raised, Mr. President.
Councilmember Darby?
Yes, I just want to say thank you, Councilmember McCoy, for this legislation. I just want to say thank you guys, or congratulations to you guys for all of your achievements, and keep up the good work. I wish I was there in person, but allergies are kicking me in the butt right now, and my face is swollen, chest hurts. So, but thank you guys, and congratulations.
Thank you, Councilmember Darby. Pro Tem Maria Corbetta, any other council members?
No, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you very much. I'd also like to recognize Reverend Dr. Jay Macklin from Councilwoman Maria Corbetta, and from Councilmember Michelle Harley. She would like to recognize Dr. Richard Allen Williams. At this time, I would also like to recognize sympathy resolutions from all of Wilmington City Council. Condolences to the family of Will Minster, who was a community leader and a champion for economic development here in our city. He will be greatly missed. Also from all of council, sympathy recognition for Stanley Munfer Ali. From Councilmember Cabrera, sympathy recognition for the family of Sarah E. Burton. From Councilmember Harley, a sympathy resolution for Pastor Rella Reynolds. From Councilmember Oliver, sympathy resolutions for Delbert Snyder Sr. and Vernon Jerome Hill Sr. And from Councilmember Vincent White, sympathy resolution for William Oscar Cornelius. At this time, we will move to public comment. Again, as a friendly reminder, there is a Google Form sign-up link in the chat for anyone who would like to speak who is virtual. Your time frame is 3 minutes. Please do not direct your comments to any council member directly, but please direct all of your comments to me as the president. And once your time is coming to near an end, I will give you a friendly reminder. First in chambers, we have Dwight Davis. Mr. Davis, please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of Wilmington City Council. My name is Brother Dwight L. Davis, and I'm here to speak briefly on the state of Delaware, the first state. Last night, we had the privilege, our community, the Muslim Center in Wilmington, Masjid Al-Kawthar, to travel down to Dover per the invitation of the Honorable John Carney, who is our governor of Delaware's first state. As you may be aware, that Delaware is the first state in many different areas. We were the first state to send representatives to ratify the United States Constitution. We were the first state to send representatives to sign the Declaration of Independence. And we're also the very first state to accept a petition from Bishop Peter Spencer, and which the state of Delaware gave Bishop Peter Spencer in 1812 the first independent charter to establish the African Union Church. And over the period of 30 plus years, Bishop Peter Spencer, a Wilmington native, established over 30 churches, and each church had a school attached. Mr. President, we traveled to Dover, to the Woodburn, a colonial mansion, and we in fact said to the governor and those who were in attendance that Wilmington City Council, under the leadership of the Honorable Ernest Trippy Congo, is also a first. The first to establish the Wilmington City Council Reparations Task Force. And we are here to appeal to the governor, who we broke bread with last night. We also ate at the table with the Honorable President Pro Tem David Sokola, Bethany Hall Long, and many, many others, Eugene Young as well. And we're appealing to the governor to meet with us per the invitation of the president of Wilmington City Council, to meet with us to assist us in developing a model to implement the reparations that this state is long overdue in terms of owing to its citizens of former slavery. So this evening, we want to appeal to Governor John Carney to recognize the Wilmington City Council Reparations Task Force, and to put some money behind the recognition from the state at the state level to help us continue being the first state to recognize that the state of Delaware is obligated and is long overdue to those of former slavery. So I thank you very much, and I trust that this message will go and reach the governor as per this meeting. Thank you very much. And my colleague here, Abdullah Muhammad Bey, also traveled with me. And in addition to that, Imam Muhammad Salam. And I want to say what I said at the dinner table, that Imam Rudolph Ali asked me to be on my best behavior, and I asked them to bear witness that I, in fact, had been on my best behavior. And thank you very much, and have a blessed night.
All right, thank you. And Brother Bay, did you have any public comment?
Yes, sir. Evening, family, City Council, President. My name is Abdullah Muhammad Bey. I spoke some time back about drug and alcohol and mental health issues here in the city of Wilmington. I'm a licensed drug counselor. I work at the Howard Young facility, drugs and alcohol and mental health. Also work with Kent County Probation. My concern at this point is dealing with people when they get released. So prevention before they go in too. We need more treatment programs, not just in the prison setting, in the community. You know, from faith-based, diversity, multicultural. This is a pandemic, you know, drugs and alcohol here in Wilmington and other cities too. But I'm from Delaware. I've been going for quite some while. I'm back home, and I want to be part of the solution, like I said before, and try to work together with the city council, with the state, whoever, and try to address some of these problems, you know, because it can come home. I'm sure you know somebody, person who got a drug and alcohol problem. Huh? You know what I'm saying? And so we need to, this is real. We talking about the next generation, our children, you know, our grandchildren, you know. So if we don't do something now, it's going to affect us on, you know. So that's a main concern of mine here in my hometown is drug and alcohol and mental health. Mental health is a serious problem here too, you know. I'm sure everybody can relate. So again, we need to just come together, you know, and address these problems, put aside our differences and focus on what we got in common, you know. So that's just the way I am, you know. I'm just trying to work together with the community, addressing drug and alcohol problems, issues, and concerns. Another one is housing. A lot of these people get released, they're homeless. So that's, you clean them up and put them back on the street, and so anyway, that's all I got to say. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we have Miss Deborah Crack. Please come forward and please introduce yourself when you come to the microphone, and please watch your step as you step to the microphone.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Craig, and I live at 1000 North Monroe Street. My husband and I have been Wilmington residents since 1994 and have seen a number of city nepotism issues arise in the past 29 years. And so we are completely in support of Councilman Spadola's anti-nepotism ordinance. It's clean, simple, transparent, and makes sense. The City Council should be held to a high standard of conduct and to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. This ordinance does that and sets an example for the rest of the Wilmington City government. If there were more laws like this, we'd be in better governmental and civic shape. As the ordinance says, it would earn the respect and confidence of Wilmington residents. And I'm so grateful for Councilman Spadola for proposing it and for the support it's been given. And thank you for allowing me to comment.
Thank you very much, Ms. Craig. Next, we have Judith Calhoun. Please come forward. Please remember to introduce yourself, and please be careful as you step to the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Judith Calhoun. I live at 1403 Shawcross Avenue in District 8, I believe. Is that correct? Good evening, City Council members and all the guests of the City Council. I've come to share with you a small but not insignificant problem that I'd like to bring to the attention of the City Council. It seems our mayor has decided to adopt an earlier city code from 2014 and revisit it in 2017. The code labels condos as commercial properties, which must obtain their trash and recycling services from private firms. Some condos have already been informed that they will no longer get city services. I take issue with the mayor's decision, as condos are not commercial. The definition of commerce is the activity of buying and selling, especially on a large scale. We do not buy or sell anything at my condo, even small things. The condo in which I reside doesn't buy or sell, and we do not consider ourselves commercial. Each condo owner has a deed of ownership and consequently pays the City of Wilmington property taxes annually, just as owners of single or duplex homes do. Since this is true, condo owners should be provided with the city trash and recycling pickup that owners of single or duplex homes receive. I urge the City Council to examine this discriminatory policy and try to do something to correct it. I appreciate being able to talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your perspective. Next, we have Deacon Earl Tate.
Greetings. My name is Deacon Earl E. Tate II, and I'm here to tell you about these streets. We have the money here to fix up these streets because these streets are looking a mess. in certain parts of the town, the streets look patched up and everything. Look like a child has been playing out there and messing around with the streets. We need the streets to be smooth, to be nice, all over town, not just in one side of the town, all over the town, and just because we can't put speed bumps in it, put in it along. They have it on the I-95. When you go off the side, they had it. They tell you to get back in there and everything. So that's what we need. That's what we need to slow the people down. So they would know that they're out of hand. And plus we need to look out for our youth, because our youth are our future, and our future is now. So we need our youth to look up to us as adults, and not as no jitterbugs. So that is what I like to say, and I like to finish it with this. It's time to stop living in sin. It is time to get right within. I say it is time to stop living in sin, and time to get things right within. And hate and violence are not the way to go. You only end up in jail or buried 6 feet below, and in hell, where you will where you will be gnashing your teeth and burning endlessly. Repent, and of all your sins, and let Jesus Christ come in, because he's the only way to make it in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Deacon Tate. Next, we have Mousy Smith.
Good evening, President, council members, and the taxpayers of Wilmington. I'm here to tell you history, and history will come to Orders 0295. I had a couple of people come to us and come to our executive meeting. I'm the president of the NAACP for the state of Delaware, and they lay out some history. I know in my lifetime 7 mayors personally. I could call them up all types of night and stuff. I know 6 governors personally. I know the history of city council when it was on 11th and King. I know the history of the good old boys and stuff like that. I know the history of us struggling to get 7 blacks on city council when it was only a couple named Bus Hopkins, who owned the Hopkins Theater, was the only black theater we had. And then it came Dutch Burton and Joe White and 3. It took us a long time to get blacks to control this council. Now we got a problem in the rules. Back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, you used to have to go to Leo Marshall to get a job, or some council. It was relatives who would train their sons and their daughters to be council people and representatives and department heads and stuff. It was council people, fire department, police department, public works, they all have relatives and went out and got relatives to follow their footsteps as I want to be like my daddy or I want to be like my uncle. This bill was good up to now when the white council did it. And now it needs to be changed. You guys should be allowed to have your nieces, nephews, and kids to follow your footsteps and come to council or come to ward department or public works and stuff. This is wrong. The NAACP don't support it. Every time we get in power, they change the rules on us. The rules I'm saying to the taxpayers, don't go for it. Don't go for it. And I ain't gonna get rude and stuff like that, like the white say, brother, the white. I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna fight and try to get people who go for this piece to look at it, and we're gonna fight for this change. Because all you council people, all everybody, should have the same opportunity as our brothers and sisters had in the past. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith. Virtually, we have Christina Kelly. Are you still with us, Ms. Kelly?
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you so much for an opportunity to speak tonight. To begin with, I wanted to wish everybody a happy 420. And my comment tonight, I actually wish to read you a brief news article. This article states, and I apologize, this is a WDEL article published today. I apologize, yesterday, by Mr. Sean Green. This article reads, Wilmington City Councilwoman Xanthia Oliver received a public
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Point of order.
Okay, I won't read you the article. However, I do want to mention that this is not the first incident of this. So I was hoping that somebody could address this issue for future purposes, and that we ensure that we are reading entire pieces of legislation before voting yes, no, present, or otherwise. And that B, we don't come up with excuses to excuse ourselves from fraudulent activity. So point of order or not, this is a huge concern and it should be addressed. And the public and the taxpayers should have a right to speak on our council people participating in activities like this. I'm not going to go into the 2018 incident where the same organization and the same person was granted $185,000 that also came back from HUD as being a fraudulent transaction. But again, this is something that needs to be discussed, and this is the appropriate venue to discuss it. So thank you again, Mr. President, for an opportunity to bring that up.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kelly. We appreciate you. At this time, I don't believe there are any other members from the public who have signed up virtually. So we will move into legislative business. As customary, we will dispense from calling each council member's names for legislative business unless you do have any. And just as a friendly reminder that we all will be able to give comments. We'll be able to give up to 2 responses. And Council Member and Pro Temp Maria Cabrera, Chief of Staff Mona Parikh, and I will all work together to acknowledge council members who have any concerns or wish to give any remarks. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. Please be patient. Please do not speak out of your turn, and please wait until you are called on by Pro Temp Maria Cabrera. And as always, the sponsor will have the last opportunity to give any comment before we go to roll call. Councilmember Darby.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 21024, Agenda 0057, an ordinance to amend Chapter 5 of the City Code to require buyers of residential rental property to pay business license fees at property settlement.
Mr. President, I have a substitute to present in lieu of that ordinance.
Substitute number 1 to ordinance 21024, revision 1 to agenda 0057, an ordinance to amend Chapter 5 of the City Code to require buyers of residential rental properties to pay business license fees at property settlement.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and called for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This piece of legislation, I'm sorry, I need to drink some water.
All right, take your time.
So this piece of legislation is allowing for, at the settlement, for property owners, if they state that this is going to be a rental property, to have the opportunity to pay for their business license fee at settlement. After the business license fee is paid, the Department of L&I will send out a brochure to the landlord to let them know about what it means to be a landlord in the city of Wilmington. It's an informational brochure. And this allows for us to increase the number of business licenses in the city of Wilmington. And that is the summary of the legislation. So we can open it up.
Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I'm in full support of this piece of legislation, working with Councilmember Darby on this. This is us not only looking at the coffers of the city, raising revenue, increasing compliance, but if you're operating business, you should be required to register. Obviously the compliance part is going to still be the difficult part, and we need the software and tracking, plus Delaware Association of Realtors and other groups to comply to make sure that they're at closing, they are adding this to the contracts. But we need to put the pieces in place. This is us moving the city forward, because for far too long we've let landlords get away with not being registered, and we're working on investing in software and other methods to track them down. I know Councilmember Cabrera has worked hard in this area as well. We got to step it up, and if we're not pushing legislation like this, then what are we doing here? So I am a fan of this. I ask for council's full support. I know there's some administrative questions and pushback from the mayor's office, but again, I think their questions were, well, how are we going to enforce it? Which, okay, it's our job to figure out how to do it and get Association of Realtors and other groups to start doing this at closing. So I think this is good and pushes our city forward.
Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the total opposite opinion of this legislation. Meeting with Jeff Starkey, not the administration, Jeff Starkey, who runs the land use. His department runs this. I've met with them on 3 occasions. And also I have met with Mr. Boykin, and they said, based on this legislation, there is no consequences. And what he means by that, I asked him, what did he mean? He said, this legislation is asking realtors, renters, people who own or go to settlement they're asking their attorneys to deal with the settlement fees. And what Jeff is saying is, Xanthia, we have no way to enforce that because no one from L&I is going to be at the settlement table. The attorneys already expressed that they didn't want to be involved with it. They're just there to do a settlement. So it's a feel-good piece of legislation. No city official will be there, complete the paperwork. So what's the purpose of it? Who's going to enforce it? So we're going to pass an ordinance to put it on the attorneys when you go to settlement, to tell the attorneys to accept something that the city should be doing. And I just think, I spoke to Jeff Starkey. He said no attorneys want to be bothered with this, and it's just a feel-good piece of legislation, so why would y'all turn it to an ordinance? So for that reason, I won't be voting for it. Thank you.
I'm also going to speak. I understand that there's different opinions, and Councilman Oliver makes a good point when it comes to enforcement. I sometimes look at some of the laws that we do pass and question, how are they getting enforced? I remember passing legislation, disorderly premises, where you actually hold people accountable that are engaged in the disorderly behavior, not just the landlords with the nuisance points. And the people who are supposed to enforce it are the police department, but not one police officer knew anything about the legislation. So eventually, with time, there was training that was done and it was included. I've spoken to the chief about making sure that every officer in Wilmington understands that this is a tool in the toolbox. But just because we may have challenges in enforcing a law doesn't mean that we shouldn't at least make the attempt to start to bring people into compliance. As we start to get more and more software that helps us with how we manage the city, these things could happen in the future. Right now, we are looking at a system that we currently use in our license and inspection departments and land use, Ptolemy. And we are going to start seeing how many properties a person has, because you can only live in one. We do have a lot of rentals in the city of Wilmington where they are non-compliant and they're not getting inspections. People are living in squalor. It becomes a safety issue, but we have to start somewhere. And I understand all the challenges that are being, that we have in place in being able to enforce this, but just because we're starting something doesn't mean that it can't grow and that the enforcement can't eventually be there, and we'll work out the kinks. So I will be in support of this.
Question? Mayor?
Councilman White?
First of all, I think when we get information regarding the bill, it should be an accurate information regarding the bill. I'm in favor of this bill for a lot of reasons. But first of all, the Delaware Association of Realtors has nothing to do with this legislation. We don't close. That is the property section of the bar. If anybody needs to be notified, that would be the property section of the bar for compliance. At closing, many fees, many affidavits are signed. We are not responsible for the enforcement. We are to govern as we deem, as our constituents deem appropriate. If we ask for the enforcement methodology on all the legislation that we would pass that's before us, I'm sure we wouldn't get anywhere. So let's be accurate. Delaware Association of Realtors is a state association. If any, it would be the Newcastle County Board of Realtors for any involvement, and I believe that they have some. Third, the mechanism has to be worked out, should be worked out by the property section of the bar, and I'm sure that the legislative sponsor is about doing that. But let's not fear getting something done that protects renters, neighborhoods, and brings some accountability on the part. And if it generates revenue, so be it. But we're not the enforcement mechanism. So I'm in favor of the ordinance, but I'm not in favor of the miscommunication on the responsibilities that's been issued on various parties that's not accurate.
Second round, Councilman Johnson.
I sincerely apologize, Councilmember White, as I know you are the real estate, I mentioned the wrong association. It would be Newcastle County Board of Realtors. And yes, the bar. And I am not, I'm an attorney, not a real estate attorney. So this is way outside my wheelhouse, but I believe we will be able to get it to that group and figure it out. So again, thank you very much, Councilmember White. I appreciate the clarification because we should be accurate on the record as you are the expert in this field. Thank you.
There are no other hand. Oh, Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My only comment is basically what you talked about when it came to enforcement. I do realize that this is something that probably needs to happen because we have way too many people who are leasing or renting out properties and are not being held accountable by the city or anyone else. My issue is that one of the things you talked about was the fact that when it comes to enforcement, we have simple things that we're not enforcing that have been ordinances for a long time that we really need to get back to before we start adding more to our plate. Just getting back in the track on, making certain that we're doing inspections and things of that nature. If we were to concentrate on that a bit more, this is not saying that this is not a good piece of legislation, but it will go back to the end of the pile. We definitely have an issue when it comes to enforcement, and it's sad, but that's where we are. I just wanted to make certain that I made that comment because I too have been back and forth because I'm like, we keep putting ordinances in that probably may never go anywhere, and that we do want to see something happen in our city. Please don't think that we don't.
Yeah, my last comment.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Thank you. My last comment is that, to follow up with Councilman McCoy, we're just putting in these ordinance and, like nobody is listening to the department heads. Jeff Starkey's been here for I don't know how many years, not saying he's always right. Talk to Mr. Boykin. We already have a shortage in the city of Wilmington. Half the stuff is not getting done. We're talking about openings, we're talking about vacancies, and we just keep putting more and more stuff on top of the inspectors that we don't have. And as Councilman McCoy said, so this is just another layer. And I stated when we had a meeting, it's not like as Councilman Vince said, I'm not totally against it, but it's just a feel-good piece of legislation. We're going to say, we're going to get to it down the line. When you do an ordinance, to me, that would be a resolution to make a suggestion, but an ordinance is to become law. So we're going to make this law, and we don't have all of our bases covered, and that's what I have to say. Thank you.
I will make another comment, and that would be that technically this would be for the.
Excuse me, her
I'm
hand was
sorry.
my hand was up.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councilmember Fields.
I would just like to say I agree with my colleague, Councilmember McCoy. Looked over it, looked at it, and we discussed it. So, my whole thing is, as you know, I always talk about I have several rental properties in the 5th District. However, we're just piling more ordinances on top of ordinance, and I have other things that they're not even enforcing. So, I just totally agree. We can't make somebody do this. So, I just kind of wanted to put it out there, like, this is something that needs to happen. If it was more of a recommendation, I totally agree. However, placing the ordinance, I just don't feel like it's really necessary. You can't make somebody do something because they're not doing half of the stuff they're not doing anyway. So that's just my comment. I like it, but you can't make nobody do it.
Second round, Councilman White.
Thank you for recognition, and I enjoy the comments of my colleagues. I understand their sentiments. However, we are a legislative body. We should not be fearful of passing legislation because the administration may or may not be in a position to enforce it. What we should do is hold the administration accountable on all of these matters that my colleagues feel as though have not been enforced. We are just, no further question, no further comments.
I'm going to make my second round, and first it would be the finance department who would have to enforce this. And recently, just having purchased a house, there was a litany of fees that I had to pay for, and I believe that
Point of order, could you stay on the legislation, please, not your house?
And when I went to settlement, there was a litany of fees that I had to pay, as I was saying, and adding this as a fee, knowing if this wasn't going to be my primary residence, that those questions would be there. Now, a person could have a secondary residence, but that it's not impossible for this to be added as an additional closing cost when you're purchasing a property and it is known that that property is not going to be your primary residence and it's going to be an investment or a rental property, which we know that many of them are very obvious and some are not. But it is a start, and I agree with Councilman White. We need to just move forward and do what is right. And it's not on us to enforce it. It's on the administration and to hold those people accountable. And of course, to work with them in finding ways to make it easy. That's it. There's no one else. Any other hands raised before we turn to the sponsor?
Yes, I have a comment.
Yeah. You can take over, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. I am in support of this legislation. I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. A few of my colleagues have pretty much already expressed my sentiments. So I'm not going to just say them. But again, I don't think that we can shy away from necessary legislation just because the systems aren't in place. I believe that we have to have the legislation in order for those systems to even be needed. I don't think that it can go the opposite way. There would be no need for a system if there is no legislation to enforce it. So again, I will be supporting this legislation. Thank you.
Councilmember McCoy?
Yes, thank you. I made my comment because I just wanted to be clear. We have ordinances that we need to start getting enforced. Not stating that this is not something that should happen. What I'm stating is that if we're going to do any of this, we got to make certain that the ones that have already been on the books and that we've actually concentrated on for several years, initially before COVID, we need to make certain that these things go back to where they were. If it's hiring more inspectors, whatever that is, that needs to happen. I'm not certain how. I am not the real estate expert like Councilman White is. So I have no understanding or idea about that. I know about what's going on when it comes to these rental properties not being inspected, and now we are having the issues that we are where the evictions are happening. So too much time has gone by where no one's getting inside of these places. I just wanted to make certain that was clear. My comment is that we need to make certain that happen. When it comes to this piece of legislation, I'm of either mind. I just want to make certain that we're getting the job done when it comes to inspecting these properties and holding the landlords accountable.
Councilmember Bracy?
I'd like to put a motion on the floor for a friendly amendment. Is that possible when we're on the question?
Second.
Okay.
It has been properly moved. Yeah, go ahead, Mr. President.
I move to amend substitute number 1 to ordinance number 21-024 in section 5-37.
Point of order, Madam Chair, just for clarification, does the amendment require a 2/3 vote of the council for acceptance?
Mr. President.
Which
I'm going to
believe
ask
it
our
does.
parliamentarian to please chime in.
Bear with me one moment, please. The amendment will require a vote of the majority of members in attendance and voting in order for it to be adopted. That's the motion for the, thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
But she still has to talk about the amendment.
Right. I haven't put forth the motion. Well,
Yeah.
okay, all right. So at section 5-37, we would change it from business license at property settlement to business license within 1 year of property settlement. And then section 8, license fee paid instead of at 1 year, at property settlement, within 1 year of property settlement. That would be my motion.
Did you want to elaborate on?
Yeah.
the reason
So
why?
if the question or the concern is enforcement, if they're required to do it within 1 year, so those that and it could be, Councilwoman Darby, this is a friendly amendment. I support this legislation, but I'm trying to look at how we address some of the concerns. So if it's within 1 year, so then that gives there's time for enforcement. So if you are purchasing a new property and it is for the purpose of rental units, then instead of, if the concern is having an attorney at the properties, adding another fee, then you have a year to make good on your requirement. So this is just a friendly amendment. I still support this legislation. I think it's a good piece. I think we need to pass it. I think we need to do more to support our renters.
But if it's a concern about process, this may give us a little bit of room. You know, if it's L&I or the finance department or whoever needs to figure out how they're going to enforce this, this gives us room. They have a year.
Are we able to ask questions or talk about this?
Can Councilmember, Darby?
Yes, no, I appreciate the amendment. I was wondering what I could chime
Point
in.
of order, I think, and the parliamentarian
Oh.
can chime in.
She's
I think
gotta-
we have to debate on the motion first.
Right.
I wanted to debate the motion,
Okay.
but no? Okay,
Which-
I'll wait.
Point of order, clarification. The sponsor has to accept the motion.
No.
No? The sponsor does not have to accept the motion?
We would vote on it.
No, they do not.
They don't have to accept the amendment. Thank you for clarification. Thank you.
Can I talk about the amendment?
Yes, go forward.
Councilmember Darby, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. No, I wanted to clear up a few things, which also might clear up the amendment. There are many fees and fines that happen from different departments throughout, that has nothing to do with the city that you have to pay a settlement. You don't need a physical person there. You don't need an L&I person there for the fee or fine to be paid. That all happens in the paperwork at the settlement process. So the notion that we're going to be asking L&I workers to do more work, thus we need to worry about enforcement, that's not that is not an issue or problem. So I'm not sure where that council person got that information from, right? It is solely a piece of paper that they fill out. This is a bill by actually a community person. Her name is Renee. She's a landlord and a real estate agent. We've been working on this for about 2 years now. And we met with finance, we met with attorney groups, we met with the real estate agents, we met with Brett in finance, we met with L&I at the time. We've met with so many people, had so many meetings about this piece of legislation, and we made so many amendments already, right? So where we got to the point is you do not need an L&I, you don't need anyone else new at the settlement. We're not adding any workers. We're not adding any people. All we're saying is that we're going to turn a payment in to L&I for the business license fee. That's it. And already by law, when you buy a property, you're supposed to get your business license, right? So I don't know if there's a time frame already on the books that says that when you acquire a property or when a person is occupied, how soon you need a business license, right? I don't know what that requirement is, but I don't want to, I wasn't really looking to change when someone gets a business. I mean, necessarily to say to give them a whole year to get a business license. Like, what if they get a rental, or occupy, a renter in there within that year? Like, they should get that business license, I think, at the business settlement when they send the money. They don't need an extra person. So I wanted to clear that up. So if we talk about enforcement, there's no new people in the process. It's just a paper. That's it. That's
Thank
all
you.
I have.
Thank you. I would like to return back to Councilmember Bracy just to see if she still wants to move forward with her amendment.
No, I'll remove the amendment. Thanks for the clarification, Councilwoman Darby.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. But now we can return back to any comments on the question. If there are any other council members who would like to give any comments?
I don't see any other hands up, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. At this time, we'll return back to the sponsor.
Yes, thank you. Again, this legislation is about just increasing the number of business licenses in our city. We're going to simply, it's a paper. It is no extra people. The attorneys, we talked to them, we made amendments, we spoke to Brett in the finance department. We had so many meetings over the last 2 years with community people, a landlord and a real estate agent who's willing to help with the process. And the real estate association that she's a part of is even willing to create the form, right? So we have a lot of support from the community on this legislation. So I want to just call for a roll call. I'm finished with my comment.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White? Yes. Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
No.
Councilwoman Fields?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilman Spadola,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
11 yeas, 1 nay, and 1 absent.
Declared adopted. Councilmember Johnson?
Yes, Mr. President, I have an ordinance to call for first and second reading.
Ordinance 23-017, Agenda 0295, an ordinance to amend Chapter 41 of the City Code to permit the use of parapet signs.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 41 of the City Code to permit the use of parapet signs.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the first and second reading of ordinance and refer to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee.
And thank you, Mr.
Councilmember-
President.
Thank you. Councilmember Spadola?
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 23-007, Agenda 0273, an ordinance to amend Chapter 2 of the City Code to prohibit City Council from hiring close relatives of currently sitting City Council members.
Mr. President, I move that be known as the enactment clause of the ordinance and call for the yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and called for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation was motivated by some issues we had at the state level with nepotism, and I thought, what could we do at the city council level with our very small staff of 10 or so to have a strong stance against nepotism and show the public that doling out contracts of family members is not good, and specifically what this legislation addresses, hiring immediate family members is not good as well. The definition of a close relative is parent, spouse, children, and siblings by blood. Nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles could still be hired. It would only prohibit immediate relatives, defined as close relatives, of sitting council members. There's also a carve-out for current employees. So if anybody was elected to city council and their family member was already on staff, that person could remain on staff. I did intend initially to have this for the entire city government. The law department wrote back that would be a violation of the separation of powers and impede on the executive administration's authority to hire employees. So, some of the comments from my council members, it seems that is a bit of a sticking point in terms of, because it's only for council, it's not for the entire government. And I understand that, but what I would encourage us to look at that as an opportunity in the sense that we could set the standard here on council, saying no to nepotism, and then we could fight the law department, rally together, and do what we can to fight nepotism throughout city government. So with that, I will entertain some other comments and happy to answer any questions.
Councilmember Darby had her hand up first. Proceed.
Now, I just want to say I'm in full support of this legislation and the intent of it. I think it's important to put safeguards up to hold us accountable and for us to be ethical in our decisions that we're making and how we're operating as a city council. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
Again, this is very important, enhancing ethics and looking at it. I just really question because it is still controversial. There's groups that oppose it, such as the NAACP, for various reasons. I just have questions about the timing of it. I think it still needs to be debated, still needs to be talked about because, again, groups are, as stated, are not in favor of it, and we have to listen. And, we are in the midst of budget season. My bandwidth has been focused on how can we better the lives of Wilmington residents, and that's what I feel like we need to focus on. So if, again, it's a good idea. I just think it needs a little bit more work as we can move forward so we can really focus on gun violence, the housing, affordable housing, and the other issues. But again, this is important.
Councilman White?
Thank you, Madam Chair. want to stand and make certain I get a little closer. I'm not in favor of this legislation. I've talked to the sponsor about it. I think it doesn't go far enough. And I think also the bottom line is that council is a unique organization. It has its own rules. As discussed before, we have the rules and policies of the 107 to prevent this very thing. We know ethics works. We know it firsthand. So to go beyond, as I told the sponsor, I'm not looking for incremental ethics. I'm looking for the full yard. If it's good enough for council, it's good enough for everybody. For us to pinpoint ourselves in a way that has a potential to dilute our authority is wrong. Now, there are some who say this is go along to get along. I dare not. I'm the former ethics commissioner for Newcastle County. I serve as the president of the professional standards chair of the Newcastle County Board of Realtors and the Delaware Association of Realtors. So I know something about this matter. But I also know ethics is not static. It grieves me to no end to think that somebody thought the timing of a certain media piece today or yesterday would aid this cause. Would aid this cause. I'm not sure, I'm not certain that was the case, but it surely is not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Now, in a council that's composed of 98% persons of color, majority women, and a city that represents the same, for us to question our ethics at a time when we have the rules in place to prevent this very thing, and if you talk to the sponsor, he'll say this has not occurred. But what about the next council? What about the next council? Are they going to be less ethical than us? We know ethics works. We have but to open the paper and listen to the radio. We know it works, but the public humiliation of one of our own is wrong. And to think that was orchestrated to benefit this legislation, I'm seriously concerned about it. So I'm not for this legislation. It doesn't mean I'm not for ethics. Doesn't mean I'm not for accountability. We know that it works, but I'm not for the unwavering of our authority to govern ourselves and to perpetuate the rules that most benefit this council. So I'll be voting against the resolution.
Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. That was very eloquent. I cannot even compete with that. But I just want to state that I will not be supporting this. And I had spoken briefly to my councilman colleague, and I did make him aware that sometimes I do believe that he is confusing nepotism and legacy. I'm like, I do see that there's a little bit of a issue there. And one of the things that I actually felt, because I know some of our my colleagues have all been born and raised here. I'm not Wilmington because I wasn't born in that hospital or the one down the street or whatever, but I've been here for a long time in Delaware, a long time, and I see the Delaware way. And I see the word that I found was called amicism, AMICISM, and that is basically we are taking care of our friends. It's not the family. It's when we get in positions of power, and those who helped us get there, we look out for all of them. That's what I see. And if this is not going to address that, I'm like, I don't see any point in doing it. And then the other thing is these smaller, these ordinances where we are basically policing ourselves. I have no problem with giving the Ethics Commission a little bit more teeth if needed in order to get things done. Because like Councilmember White said, we see that they work. But all of this policing us, can't do this, can't do that, where we actually don't even police ourselves. We actually have things where we're not even attending that we're supposed to be attending. We won't get that done, but yet we're going to tell our colleagues what y'all need to do next. I just have a problem with that. And so at this time, I cannot support, well, not at this time, but I will not be able to support this piece of legislation.
Councilmember Fields.
Yes, I did speak to the sponsor as well, and I did let him know that I would not be supporting this ordinance. However, I would support this ordinance this evening if it included all city employees. But for that reason, I'm not able to support this legislation. That's all I have to say.
I will take a moment to comment as well. When I look at the city of Wilmington, I look at the legacy jobs. I look at a city that when we lost manufacturing jobs such as GM and Chrysler, that a lot of opportunities for our people within the city went away, and thus our poverty level went up. The city of Wilmington is one of the last establishments here where, you know, you can come work and you have good benefits, and your children's nephews, nieces, brothers, sisters. I mean, there are a lot of family members that work within different departments. I, on the other hand, would oppose having a citywide ban on family members being hired, because I look at different departments where dad worked there and then the son came to work, and sometimes they're spread out in different city departments. Look at our police and look at our fire department. You have, you know, it just goes down the line. Our Chief Ford, his son Tom works in real estate and housing. So, I mean, it would take away opportunities, the few that are left in our city. Now, when it comes to policing ourselves, I have mixed emotions on all of it. I don't see anything happening right now. I don't see that family members are working on city council. I understand that it could cause issues if you as a council member, you have a family member working there and something else is going on with another council member. It could present that, but again, it's not broke. We know we could put the rules in at the beginning of the year when a new council is elected. And we have done that on this council. And I also understand the sponsor stating that, but that doesn't mean that the next council or the one thereafter is going to do the same. So I'm seeing a lot of opposition. I'm seeing that community members and leaders are opposed to this. I am not going to vote no, but I am going to vote present. I did tell the sponsor that he did have my support, but maybe this is something that is going to require more discussion on how we do this and just not create this, what's happening right now and with leaders in the community. But I'm all for ethics, just like Councilman White said. We do have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to be the leaders here. So those are my thoughts. Councilman Mills.
Yes, thank you. And I just wanted to say, after careful consideration, because I was a co-sponsor with Councilman Spadola, and after careful consideration and the thought for the potential of overreaching and the unintentional consequences is why I removed my name, and I just don't feel like those items have been addressed, and for that fact, I will not be supporting the legislation. Thank you.
There's no one else with hands raised on the floor, Mr. President.
Yes, thank you very much, Councilwoman Cabrera. Yes, I will be supporting this legislation. I believe that if we want to see anything happen citywide, we have to begin with ourselves. I believe it's a great piece. I just think that, again, perception is real, and there are instances where there have been times when people in elected, and I think that's the main point that hits me, that we're elected officials. Some of the other departments, they're hired, but we're elected. So I think there's a different standard of trust that goes into an elected official. So I think that this is a great piece to helping us show the public that we want to be completely transparent and that we just want to, in their eyes, do the right thing. So I will be supporting this legislation. Thank you. And clerk, I'm going to go return back to the sponsor.
Excuse me, another hand raised, Councilman Johnson.
Again, I have to give all the respect to, as Councilmember White said, the rules that we have set up. So it's painstaking time we spent years ago, setting up the guardrails for how we've operated. And I say we've had, at least with this session 108, we have maintained a high ethical standard. We have those guardrails in place that we go by a majority of council. People cannot be hired. We have a personnel chair, Councilmember Harley, who actually is the chair of the personnel committee, and all full-time hires have to go through that. So again, I think we actually were a step ahead in foreseeing that this could be an issue. That's why we have to vote on all full-time hires. So again, I applaud Councilmember Spadola with the effort. I'm supportive of the effort, but again, there's a lot of again questions about the timing of this. We do have a lot of issues in the community. I just believe, again, this is better maybe shelved until more work can be done on this. Thank you.
I'm going to do a second round. Council President, I'm going to take your words, and I will just say that leadership isn't easy, and there's decisions that we have to make when we're sitting on this council that cause us a lot of stress and anxiety, and my stomach is really hurting right now. Leadership isn't easy, but either you stand for something or you'll fall for anything, and we are the leaders, and we have to lead by example. So I will be voting for this legislation. And there's no other hands. Oh, Councilmember McCoy, and then we go to the sponsor.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do understand what you're stating, but as I stated earlier, if we need to make certain that our Ethics Commission has more teeth that they can get things done, then we need to have legislation that does that. To continue to keep picking and pulling or whatever at little things that we feel like, oh, this was a headline a year ago, whatever, so we'll talk about this. Like, we need to make certain that they have what they need. We know that it works, that they have what they need so that they can do whatever needs to be done. Because of the fact that, you know, this is basically dealing with the elected officials, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have anything to hide. Pretty much everybody know my business. My thing is that what we're not addressing is, like I stated, the fact that you keep saying nepotism. There's not that many nephews and nieces and daughters working in here. It is sometimes people who are not quite competent, but a favor is owed. And these are the things that I've seen since before I got into council till now. So what I'm saying is the fact that rather than try to glaze over that and start talking about our direct family members, if you really want to get down to it, that would be, like I said, it's the friendism. It's the friendism is the problem. Okay? So I'm like, you know, I understood, I knew what he was talking about, and I always had an issue with that whole thing too, of giving preference, you know, when someone who's been there for a long time, and then someone just pops up, they got a halfway degree, they just got it, whatever, and they don't have no experience, but down there your boss. I get that, but that's not what this is. And you're right, Councilman Johnson. We made certain that we took the time to do this well for council. So I'm pretty sure that this will not happen in our term. What happens next term, we'll see what happens next time.
Councilmember Darby has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. I stated before I'm in support of this legislation, but I also want to say that as council people, I think we could be multi-focused, because I think someone mentioned that we have other things to focus on, but I think we can care about ethics, police violence, gun violence, housing. I think we have to be multifaceted as elected officials. And I also think we're held to a different and higher standard. So there are going to be rules, regulations, and things that are just for us. And then also there was another comment made about about public humiliation and things coming out. That is not connected to the sponsor at all. So I don't want that to be thought like the sponsor was connected or related to that in any way, shape, or form, because I know another council person made that assumption, and I don't want to think that Councilmember Spadola did that or he was involved in that at all, because he wasn't. So I want to make that very clear, because I know that something that has nothing to do with him is being connected to him in regards to how someone feels about this legislation. So I want to make that very clear on the floor tonight.
Point of information. How do we know? Point of information. How does she know that it was no connection?
I appreciate that.
Point of order, but
Excuse me,
raise our
excuse
hand.
me, everyone.
Yeah.
Excuse me, everyone. Please wait to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Everyone will have an opportunity to speak, or for decency and order, please wait to be acknowledged.
Councilman White,
Thank you
your
very
hand
much.
was up next.
I appreciate the comments. The inference was not made that my colleague had anything to do with it. I just thought it was ironic, and I would never accuse the sponsor of anything like that. I think it is beyond coincidental. So, but the question is, my colleagues, regarding this matter, I've only been a part of council for about 8 weeks. And I constantly notice that we become the boogeyman. We are the boogeyman, whether it's ethics, whether it's enforcement, we turn on ourselves and we become the boogeyman. No more comments, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair. Yes, I would like to just make my second round of comments, please.
Go ahead, Mr. President.
I don't think that, just as a spouse, I do want to stay focused on the legislation, but I don't think that we're criminalizing ourselves or making ourselves the boogeyman. I think that we're trying to create an atmosphere where we're held to a higher standard across the board, and we're trying to lead by example. And I think this is just one of the opportunities to do just that. And if there aren't any other comments, we can go back to the sponsor.
Proceed, Councilman Spadola.
Thank you. And I appreciate Council President Congo and Council Member Darby clearing the air. Just in terms of what Council Member White was talking about, making council the boogeyman. I'm not saying we're the boogeyman. I'm basically trying to raise the bar for council with this legislation by setting up good guardrails. In terms of Councilmember McCoy's points, I agree with her in terms of the frienditism, the lack of qualifiedism, people getting jobs. That is a problem. But that being a problem, that was not an argument against this legislation, I should point out. And definitely agree with Councilmember Johnson. We have a lot of serious issues in the city, but we can chew gum and walk at the same time. And just one misconception about the safeguards. We have no safeguards with part-time hires. We've had 2 part-time hires here on council, and they don't come to a vote. So we have no safeguards in that thing. And just in terms of making this citywide, which I'm in support of doing, one thing to keep in mind of why it's different. Everybody on council staff essentially works for us on council. There is an inherent conflict of interest if somebody is a direct relative of a council member. If Joe works in Public Works and Joe's brother is a police officer, they're not in the same chain of command. That's irrelevant. This is about how would you like a legislative assistant that was directly related to another council member who had competing legislation. I would urge you to think about that. And I would also invite any council members that stated their position. It has been done before. During the comments, they changed their mind and they voted a different way. Anybody is welcome to do that. And for that, I call for the roll, and I appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
No.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
No.
Councilwoman Fields,
No.
Councilwoman McCoy,
No.
Councilman Johnson,
Present.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
No.
Councilman Spadola,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Present.
President Congo.
Yes.
5 yeas, 5 nays, 2 present, and 1 absent.
Declare defeated. At this time, we will move to petitions and communications. Councilmember White.
None at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby. Councilmember Darby.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I can't talk for long, but I have two things that I wanted to hit on for tonight. One thing was, I know I have requested body cam footage of the police shooting that happened here in the city of Wilmington, and I'm still waiting for that to happen. There's an investigation going on now. There was a guy, a suicidal ideation call to the police, and I'm so sorry. It's hard for me to speak. A suicidal ideation called for the police. They came. The guy was stabbing himself, and they asked him to stop and said that he came at them with the knife and then shot him. And this is why it's so important. And I talk about us having a community response team. We need social workers. We need mental health people responding to those type calls. No one in a mental health situation is going to listen to any commands, right? So I think this is a example of why we need a community response team. I had spoke to the administration and the police chief and had several council people with me in that meeting about the community response team. We have a grant for $40,000 from a national program called LEAP, Law Enforcement Action Partnership. There are a group of law enforcement officers and officials from across the nation who are looking to develop community response teams throughout the country. I reached out to them. It cost $40,000 for the assessment, and they got a grant. They're willing to come to the city of Wilmington to figure out how we start a community response team. I was told by the administration and the police chief that they do not want to start a community response team, that they had other priorities and focus. This is a prime example of why we need one, and we must demand it, and we're going to ask for the unedited raw footage of what happened when that guy was shot by the police officer who was in a mental health crisis. He was not a criminal. He did not commit a crime. He was not. He was hurting himself and needed help and did not get help. So that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two announcements. Tomorrow over to Eastside Charter along with Aaron Bass. We have Catholic Charities coming out who will be paying individuals electric bill. This is probably my fifth or sixth event where Catholic Charities and DHS has partnered along with Delmar Power. They have all this federal money, and I've been sharing it. And they will be over there tomorrow from 5 until 8 paying individuals electric bills. All the money, I've been sharing it for months. It's a lot of money out there from the federal government. No one should have an electric bill. Also, the city of Wilmington has plenty of money for individuals' water bill. If anybody has a water bill, come to the city of Wilmington. I just had 3 constituents who came up here. Brett took care. They filled out an application. It's federal money, and a lot of people just don't know in the city of Wilmington that we have money for your water bill and water money for your water bill. And only thing you have to do is for Catholic Charities, their office is at Rose Hill Community Center every day from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock. That's Edie Pritchett. She's so happy. I've sent over, I don't know how many hundreds of people out there, and she's calling and asks for more individuals to come take advantage of the money for the individual's electric bill. Also, Delmar Power, come to the city of Wilmington for your water bill. With that being said, we're going to have another one, but it's another event. Oh, Saturday, the 19th, you have the reminder to attend the Delaware HIV Consortium 18th Annual Awards Gala Dinner, and that would be the 19th. Also, I'd like to thank Old Brandy Wine Partners, Peg Tie, Bill. They always invite me to their events, and they had a big event down Calamar Nickel to talk about the Revolutionary War and how many black individuals was in that war. And I'm just glad that they always invite me to these events, and you learn more and more every time. And I wanted to thank the NAACP, Mousy and Kobe for always standing up for what they believe. And I really appreciate that. And that's all I have to say. And all my colleagues who called me with all their support, thank you so much. Have a good one. May I be excused?
Yes, you may.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fields.
Yes, thank you, Council President. So 2023, the Department of Public Works Earth and Arbor Day event will be held tomorrow, Friday, April 21st, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be at the Cool Springs Reservoir, 10th and Van Buren Street. Also, this weekend, as we know, we're going to have the citywide cleanup. So, different organizations and different churches will be doing cleanups throughout districts. I know that I have a few of my districts, so I will definitely be stopping by. If you do want to volunteer, just give me a call within the fifth. If you want to volunteer in the 5th district, just give a call to the office, leave your name, and I can put you in the right direction. I do want to mention there's a community career fair, April 29th, 2023, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Get your dream job. I have a flyer. It's going to be at Sarah Powell Academy, 1040 Justin Street, Wilmington, Riverfront. And I can give this flyer to WITN so they can put this up. Parks and Rec has a T-ball program, April 22nd through June 10th, 2023. Christiana Park, Wilmington. If you go on to the Parks and Recreation website, all the program detail information is on there. 2023 Charity Crossing monthly giveaway at William Hicks Anderson Community Center. It begins at 1:30 p.m. at 501 North Madison Street. They have household items, cleaning products, clothing, and more. The next one will be May 21st, then June 18th, then July 16th. I would also like to thank all of the community, all of my constituents that have come out to the West Center City Neighborhood Association meeting for the last 3 meetings. We are definitely building community connections. I'd like to thank all of my colleagues that feel it not robbery to come in and just say hi and want to engage with those constituents. I'd like to thank all the organizations that come through and provide information to the constituents that they normally don't get. This meeting here is about educating. If we don't educate our community, we can't grow our community and we can't keep them engaged. And I do have my quotes. There is another event in the district, but I am going to let my colleague, Maria Cabrera, handle that. My first quote is, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Edward Everett Hale. And then one of my constituents that always follows me and sends me things, she sent me, we cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. What you do today can improve all your tomorrows. Never give up. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman McCoy.
Thank you. I have a few announcements. I just want to let you know that we are having the free home internet that those meetings are actually going to start taking place. The one that's going to be in the 6th District is going to be at the MSK Center. That address is 1009 Sycamore Street. The date will be Tuesday, April 25th at 6 p.m. I do hope people will begin taking advantage of those meetings, because we do realize that the internet is not a luxury. It is more so just a regular utility, as everything else is, and we all pretty much need it. So if there's any way to get it a little less expensive, I think you should take advantage. So that is Tuesday, April 25th. There's another meeting Tuesday, April 25th. That is going to be Bayard Square's meeting. That meeting takes place at the Turner's Club. That address is 701 Clayton Street. It's Tuesday, April 25th. It's from 7 to 8 p.m. So that will be their very first meeting this year. We all had like the big town hall, but we're all starting to have our regular meetings now. The another meeting that we will be having is the Browntown Civic Association meeting. That is going to be Wednesday, April 26th, and that is at 6 p.m. That will be at 804 Maryland Avenue. It is at the IAFF, which is the International Association, I think, of Firefighters. It's their union hall on Maryland Avenue. So that is going to be Wednesday at 6 p.m. at 804 Maryland Avenue. And I do want to remind people, our parents out here and our young ones, that we do still have the Youth Public Safety Academy, and there is a link up. If you need, you can actually look it up either on the City of Wilmington's website or on my Facebook page, Councilman Yolanda McCoy. We just want to make certain that more of our young people are aware of what our public safety people do, not just our police, but our firefighters as well. So please take a look at that link. That's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, well, there is a sighting event coming up next weekend that my colleague will be talking about. But in terms of our just housekeeping, the next week is the last budget hearing, which is this upcoming Monday. It will be Economic Development, Audit Department, and Law Department. Please stay tuned, and we will be having other committee hearings to discuss other budget-related items throughout the early portion of May, with hopes of getting the city budget passed by the end of May. So again, please contact City Council if you have any input of what's on there, what you want to see in your community, what you want to see in terms of housing. Please let us know. But we do have a lot of creative, ways we're looking at the budget. Stay tuned to see what we have, but we're working on a lot of exciting ways of moving our city forward. So in regard to public safety, Wilmington Police was last night, so tune into that if you have a question about what our strategy is on council in terms of approaching public safety from a responder way and community engagement viewpoint. So again, stay tuned on Monday, and keep in touch with us if you have any ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Field.
Yes, I have 3 announcements. The first is this Saturday, 9 o'clock is the first annual Trolley Square 5K, which will start in front of Trolley Square Tap House. It's going to be a very fun event, and it is not too late to sign up. If you haven't, you can also sign up the day of. This coming Monday, is the 40 Acre Civic Association spring meeting held at the Delaware Center for Horticulture at 6:30 p.m. And finally, Saturday, May 29th at 5 o'clock is the Casa de Venezuela spring concert at the Delaware Art Museum. It's going to be a very interesting cultural event, and I encourage everybody to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. President. I also would like to remind everyone that the 22nd, this Saturday, is the neighborhood cleanup in all the districts, and there are groups that are organizing, so connect with your either civic association or whatever group has organized. If you have any questions, call our office and we'll try to connect you with someone from the appropriate department to let you know where they'll be meeting in your neighborhood. But it's a great opportunity to get out, do some cleaning, sweeping, get rid of some of your items. The Wilmington Public Works Department will be out. They'll have the trucks to pick up trash. And it's just a great time to come out with your neighbors and really beautify your own backyard. The way that the city looks as people go by, it's a sense of pride. It's Wilmington pride, and we should all be proud of our neighborhoods and take this opportunity to come together to make the city look cleaner. And plus, it distracts others from thinking that it's okay to throw their trash out the window when they see a neighborhood that's not clean. So encouraging everybody to come out for that. And it might sound redundant, but we are focusing on a specific area of the city, the Lower Hilltop, on April 29th between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Councilmember Fields, myself, and the Wilmington Land Bank are sponsoring a cleanup in that neighborhood. We will be meeting at 3rd and Harrison Streets. Volunteers, anyone who wants to come out. The event is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., but if you can start coming by at 9:45, that would be great. We're going to have the equipment that you need, but if you do have any extra brooms and dustpans, please bring them. But we will provide gloves, bags, vest, and other things, as well as refreshments. There will be 2 dumpsters. One of them will be located at 3rd and Harrison, another one at 2nd and Franklin. So we're encouraging people in the neighborhood to just get rid of any large household items or anything that needs to be dumped that day. We have a lot of different sponsors that are part of this event: the LACC, Christiana Care, Westside Grows, Wilmington Police Department, Senator Lockman. We're grateful to her for bringing the dumpsters. Lieutenant Governor, Keep Delaware Beautiful. So they've all come together, and there's going to be resource tables there that day, so you can come out and get information. The Westside Grows has the home repair program. Also thankful to Council Members Johnson, Spadola, Bracy for sponsoring this event. We do need volunteers, so if you could call 302-576-2140 if you would like to volunteer. Give us your name and your phone number. We'll follow up with you. Or just show up to the event that day at 9:45 a.m. Between 9:45 and 10 a.m. we'll be gathering to get ready. So with that, that is all that I have for this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Mills.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I too just wanted to invite the public out this Saturday for the community cleanups. The Harlan Park Civic Association will be also participating in the cleanup. They will be meeting at PS Pool at 9 o'clock, going to do a cleanup over in the Haynes Park area. And just give a special thank you to Sister Bear for the First District Planning Council for all the beautification projects she's doing in the First District. That's all I have. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Spadola.
Thank you, Council President. I want to commend the President Pro Tem on running another great meeting tonight. And also, I just want to, my comments right now are not reflective of tonight, but they're really more of the, from the budget hearings. There's been an exponential increase in calling point of orders on fellow council members and also the public during public comment. And I think it makes us look a little silly unless there's a very specific procedural thing. I think it makes the meetings very choppy, and worse when it's happening with the public. I think it's a borderline First Amendment infringement. So I would encourage whoever's presiding over the meetings to be conscious of that, and really just let's have some free-flowing meeting, and let's just let people speak. I should say my high school yearbook quote was, "I don't agree with the word you say, but I'll defend with my life your right to say it." And so, let's just let people speak, whether we agree with it or not. Let's let them talk. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bracy.
Nothing tonight.
Your next
Councilmember Bracy.
She has nothing.
Nothing tonight, sir.
Oh, okay. All
You're
right.
next.
Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening virtually, and those who are in council chambers. Thank you again to Council Member and Pro Temp Maria Cabrera for running another excellent meeting. Job well done. Just want to encourage everyone to continue to call us at the city council office if you have any concerns at 302-576-2140. Again, our number is 302-576-2140. We also want to continue to invite you to our council meetings, which are every first and third Thursdays, right here at 800 North French Street. If you're not able to join us in chambers, you can join us virtually. Just want to remind everyone that we are still in our fitness challenge until May 29th or May 31st. I can't remember. But continue to eat healthier, live healthier, practice walking, practice drinking more water, practice yoga, whatever it takes for you just to live healthier. We want to continue to encourage you to do that. And especially because you have an opportunity to win not first class tickets, but round trip tickets to Florida from our Newcastle County Airport. Want to again give our appreciation to Avelo Airlines for giving away 4 round trip tickets to those who are in this challenge. And again, just kind of going off with what Councilmember Spadola said, I had those same exact sentiments. We have to be careful that we're not doing to each other what we don't want the public to do to us as individuals. I think that honestly, I think that is a rule that we need to take a look at and have a conversation around where the public can't address council members. We do want to be respectful, but again, we want to be held accountable and we want to respect our constituents. We don't want to be mayhem, but I believe that we have to just have the conversation because right now, just for not allowing the community to speak about things that are relevant, that are happening in Wilmington, if it involves a public official, I don't think that's totally fair. And especially when we can turn around and almost do the same thing to a colleague. So we just have to be careful not to cross that line. We want to respect each other. We want our constituents to respect us. I understand there is passion. I understand that. We just have to make sure that we are just being respectful as elected officials. We've already had people from the community come and tell us that they don't want to see that. So I think that we just have to be mindful. Again, not trying to take away anyone's First Amendment right, but I think that we have to have the conversation around, because that rule has been in place for a very long time. So I don't even know the answer right now, but I just want us to have that conversation so we're not minimizing what our community has to say and preventing them from having being able to speak freely at council meetings, because that's why we invite them to come. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Animated second.
It's been properly moved in second. To adjourn, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening.
Shout.